Woo! What's going on, guys? Orange Forum coming at you guys there with another video. Today's video, we're going to do the aftermath of the Detroit Lions going up to Minnesota, playing the Minnesota Vikings. Lions was a big game for Week 16. And holler if you hear me. NFC North champions. We are the champions of the North, the new kings of the North. Move over, Minnesota. We're the guys now. It's us. Couldn't believe it, guys. 30 years in the making. Wasn't even called the NFC North back then, obviously. You guys know that was called the NFC Central. That's when we won it, 1993. I was 20 years old. Unreal. Still buzzed from yesterday. Watching that game, third quarter, I had to leave. I had to leave at the end of the third quarter. I had to go to church with the wife. Happy wife, happy life. You know what I'm saying? And with my mother-in-law, my little girl. I had my phone on right next to me, though. I had it right on there. I was coming through. I was going through my skin. I was jumping out of my skin. I was profusely sweating. Trying to, I kept refreshing. I was watching it through an app. Wasn't watching it physically, watching the game, but I was watching just the scores and play-by-plays and stuff like that. And I was coming through my skin, man. And then when Melifonu made that interception at the end, I had to actually leave the church, and I had to let loose a big woo right in the parking lot. My little girl actually heard me from inside the church, and I'm sure a few other people did too. But fantastic. I think Coach Campbell coached a good game. We'll talk about the injuries, talk about the stats, though. Coach Campbell's going to win Coach of the Year. It's a lock. 30 years. 30 years, guys. Campbell comes in his third year as a Detroit Lions head coach and has come and is now a champion. Champion of the division, okay? Now, there's still work to do, but, man, this is a huge stepping stone right here. Every year has been a stepping stone, and this is gigantic. By the way, Merry Christmas to everybody. Hopefully everybody had a good Christmas. I'm making a Christmas video. I'm going to try to make it a little bit quicker, but because family is coming over. But I was fired up yesterday, man. We were doing some things on her side of the family, and I was all dressed out in Lions gear, had the hat on, had a nice sweatshirt on. I was fired up. But Lions won this football game 30-24, and a little bit of a back and forth. There's a couple lead changes, maybe 2 or 3 lead changes. Lions going up to 11-4, division winners, and the Minnesota Vikings 7-8. Playoff hopes are pretty much done. I think they're done now. They don't have any playoff hopes. I think they're officially eliminated, pretty sure. But we are the new kings of the North. Lions with a big NFC North matchup, and we're crowned the NFC North champs. So, remind everybody. Make sure you remind everybody who the new champions are of the North. Now, the injuries, we didn't get a lot of injuries during this game. A couple guys out like we talk about every week. Safety Kirby Joseph did have a concussion, though, and he was a little bit woozy in the fourth quarter. The Vikings lost a lot of guys. Not only did they have guys like cornerback Byron Murphy out, he had a knee, he was inactive, but they lost defensive end DJ Woodham in that game. I believe it was a shoulder. He could be done for the year or two. They lost TJ Hawkinson with the knee. They lost Jordan Addison with an ankle. They lost some guys. But that's football, and that's the way it goes. But we'll talk the stats. Lions on the road, we talk about them first. Quarterback Jared Goff was 30 for 40, 257 yards, a touchdown, and sacked only once. Kept pretty clean most of the game. A 75% completion percentage. He didn't have a great game. Like Goff, completion percentage was extremely high, was really nice, but it was a safe game. He played a nice, safe, clean game. There's a couple things that always bug me about Goff, but he doesn't like to throw the ball. He doesn't like to chuck it. It seems like sometimes, but hey, he played a clean game. There was a time where I saw Jameson Williams wide open down the middle of the field, and he just chooses not to throw it. That's is what it is. But he played a good, clean game. He did. He played. There's no not complaining about anything, man. He played a good, clean game. I just want to see him do that. No interceptions, no fumbles. That's what I want to see. Rushing the football, running back Jahmyr Gibbs, the rookie, 15 carries for 80 yards, 2 touchdowns again at a 5.3 yards per clip. Did have a fumble and a fumble loss, though. It's funny. I was arguing with a couple Minnesota fans. Most Minnesota fans are pretty reasonable. Most of them are I can stomach. There was a few guys that I've lost some respect for some of that fan base, only for a couple of guys, but I'm not going to put that on them. But there was a guy. I'm trying to find him on Facebook again. He probably blocked me. He told me that Jahmyr Gibbs won't do nothing because he just does bad things. He just does good things against bad defenses. Well, he rushed for 5.3 yards against your supposedly phenomenal defense, which it is a good defense. It's a very good defense. And 2 touchdowns. So, what do you got to say now, bro? What do you got to say now? Can't remember the guy's name. I don't know if I even saved. I usually save the post, but oops. And then running back David Montgomery had 17 carries for 55 yards and a touchdown, 3.2 yards per carry as well. Over 100 yards as a total. I think Khalif Raymond might have had a carry in there. Yeah. They didn't really run anybody else. They usually don't. The receiving wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown had a day. He had 12 catches for 106 yards and a touchdown, 8.8 yards per catch, 14 targets. He is the number one. Wide receiver Jameson Williams was heavily involved again. 5 catches, 43 yards, 8.6 yards a catch, 6 targets. Wide receiver Khalif Raymond, 2 for 29, 14.5 yards a catch, 2 targets as well. Running back Jahmyr Gibbs was 4 catches for 20 yards and on 5 per catch, 5 yards per catch on 7 targets. And tight end Sam Laporta didn't have a really big day. He was 3 for 18 for 6 yards a catch. But he caught all 3 of his balls. They handled Laporta pretty good. It was obvious that he wasn't going to be a big part of this game because just Goff didn't look his way much. 3 targets, caught all 3 of his balls, but he just wasn't a big part of it. And they were just having trouble containing Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's such a stud, Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then Badgley, man, he was 1 for 1 on a field goal at 37 long. He had 3 extra points. He did miss one. He did miss an extra point, which was blocked. And then Fox, man, don't talk much about the kicking game here, guys, but he had 3 punts for like 150 yards around the total yards. 2 were inside the 20. So, man, he kind of flipped the field a little bit for the Lions, too, as well sometimes. And defensively, they let up a lot of yards, but Kirby Joseph had 9 tackles, had 2 interceptions. Cornerback Brian Branch had 6 tackles, a pick. Should have had 2. He dropped out 1, that easy one in the end zone. Did have a forced fumble, and he did have a sack, too, as well. And then safety, Ifeatu Melifonwu, 5 tackles, 2 sacks again, and a pick, a huge game-clinching pick at the end of that football game. And, when the hell did this guy turn into Ed Reed? When did he turn into absolute game-changing safety? Now I jest, I joke about calling him Ed Reed, but my God, he has absolutely turned into a superstar in 2 weeks. Now, this isn't going to keep up. I can't see it keeping up, but he is finally healthy. He's a 3rd-round pick out of Syracuse a few years back. He's going to be a guy that he has literally took over. He's literally taken over. Like, what are they going to do with this? I might make a video on this. What are they going to do when C.J. Gardner-Johnson comes back? Can't take this kid off the field. They can't. Are they going to move Ifeatu Melifonwu to cornerback too? Are they going to move him back to corner? Are they going to keep him at safety? Are they going to move Gardner-Johnson to corner? It's a good problem to have, but you can't take a guy like this off the field. The Melifonwu's losing it. He's playing out of his mind right now, like out of his mind. And then linebacker Malcolm Rodriguez had 3 tackles. Linebacker Alex Anzalone had 4 tackles. Defensive end Romeo Okwara had a tackle and a sack. So he had a sack again. I think it's back-to-back games for Romeo. So he's getting to the quarterback. He's causing some pressure. Yeah, he actually had a couple pressures as well too. Hutchinson didn't really do anything on the field much. He had like 4 or 5 key pressures though. Did have a pass deflection as well. But Okwara, man, sack, forced fumble. He's getting the job done. And yeah, man, probably his defense gave up a ton of yards through the air, but nothing on the ground. We'll talk about that in a bit too. So, but let's talk about the Vikings. Quarterback Nick Mullins, 22 for 36, 411 yards. insane. 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions though. He had 4 interceptions, 4 bad ones too. He missed on a couple throws on a 61.1% completion percentage. You take away the interceptions, which you know I hate when people say that. He has a good game, but he didn't have a good game. Just because you throw for a ton of yards, it doesn't mean you had a good game. He is a turnover machine, and that was the one thing that I talked about in the preview. Get some pressure on him, which they did. They got a lot of pressure on him, and you know, even sometimes when he wasn't pressured, he threw a couple picks, threw a couple bad balls. And if anybody tells you out there, this is what's going on too around on the internet. This is what's going on, that Nick Mullins was their 4th option. Let's make it abundantly clear. Nick Mullins, at the start of the 2023 season, was QB 2 behind Kirk Cousins. He was the original backup. Okay? Now, he got hurt. I don't know when he got hurt. He got hurt during preseason camp. I don't even know. Okay? Because I don't follow the Vikings. But he was put on IR. And then they had to go to guys like, you know, they traded for Josh Dobbs because they didn't want to go to Jaren Hall, who they drafted in like the 5th, 6th round. I forget what it was. It was a rookie. I don't know what school that kid went to. BYU? I don't even know. I honestly, I think it was BYU, but don't quote me on that. So if Vikings fans, Packers fans, Bears fans, any type of football fan tells you that the Lions barely beat their 4th-string quarterback, call out their bullshit, because he was their original backup guy. He was the original backup quarterback in Minnesota. It was Nick Mullins. Because all these Vikings fans were chirping about it all week. Oh man, he's our original backup guy. He's our original backup guy to Kirk Cousins. You know, this is not Joshua Dobbs. You're not facing the rookie Jaren Hall. You're facing the original backup who's going to light you guys up. And he had a good game throwing the football yardage-wise. But he is a train wreck when it comes to turnovers. And that's what and that's what happened. That's what I said. That's what I said in my preview. Pressure the kid, you know. Even if you don't pressure him, man, he's gonna turn the ball over. And I think there was a graphic somewhere where he just turns the ball over at an alarming rate. That's what he did. 4 picks for you, Mr. Mullins. Goodbye. So that was good. So don't let anybody tell you Nick Mullins was a 4th-string quarterback, because they're lying through the teeth. Little tidbit from me to you. Most of you guys probably know that. Now, running the ball, running back Ty Chandler was 8 for 17 yards. He did have a touchdown, though, on 2.1 yards a carry. We held that team to 17 yards rushing. No wonder all they did was throw the football. They couldn't run to save their lives. So Mullins sat back, and he took advantage of a lack of a pass rush and a little bit of a weaker secondary in some spots. Now, Cam Sutton struggled against Justin Jefferson. Jordan Addison, he was out that game. It looked like he was going to probably have a good game. Hawk was kind of rolling too. Melifano was out there making damn plays, and so was Kirby, though. Great safety work. Now, receiving the ball for the Vikings, wide receiver Justin Jefferson, just talked about it. He was 6 catches for 141 yards and a touchdown, 23.5 yards a catch on 10 targets. He was balling. Wide receiver KJ Osborne was 5 for 95 and a touchdown, 19 yards a catch on 7 targets. Tight end TJ Hawkinson had 4 catches, 58 yards. He did leave early. 14.5 yards a catch on 4 targets, so he was catching everything at the time. And wide receiver Brandon Powell, ex-Detroit Lion, 3 for 53. Made a couple big catches down the stretch too. 17.7 yards a catch on 4 targets as well. So, their wide receivers was the one thing I was really, really concerned about, and they did play well. Those guys kept them in this football game from start to finish. They did. And defensively for the Vikings, safety Josh Metellus, 10 tackles out of Michigan. Linebacker Jordan Hicks, who came back from IR, had 9 tackles and a couple key pressures. Safety Cameron Bynum, who was really concerned about. He had 8 tackles. He had 2 forced fumbles. Almost had a scoop and score. But luckily, Goff's hand was just barely going forward when there was a strip sack. I think it was Pat Jones who strip sacked. I don't remember who it was for the Vikings, but it was very close. But it was a hand moving forward, so it wasn't a scoop and score, but it was close. The defensive end, Patrick Jones, had 6 tackles and a sack. Cornerback, Mekhi Blackman had 5 tackles. He ended up getting hurt too as well. Linebacker, Ivan Pace Jr., 4 tackles and a fumble recovery. Defensive tackle, Harrison Phillips, 8 tackles. Defensive end, Danielle Hunter. He did have 7 tackles, but they pretty much kept him off Jared Goff, which was great. And then safety, Harrison Smith, 5 tackles. Defensive end, DJ Woodham, 4 tackles. Went up going down in that game as well, too. But let's talk the Lions offense and defense. Every week, man, we want to run the football. That's what we do well. We run the football well, and Goff lives off the play action. And he threw a lot of short intermediate routes, a lot of dinks and dunks, and got the job done. They could not the Minnesota Vikings could not handle Amon-Ra St. Brown at all whatsoever. And I think it was a pretty good game plan. That's why I'm not gonna get that fear. I'm not furious over him not hitting J-Mo when he was wide open, because they bring the pressure. They really bring the pressure to the Vikings. And it was a good game plan, going short, moving the chains, getting chunks, 6-7 yards, having to take 2-3 down, like second down, third down to get another first down, take some time off the clock. I think it was a smart game plan. They did what they were supposed to do, because Hunter and Woodham ended up getting hurt. But that whole defense, they hunt. They do hunt, and they do get to the quarterback. And I think Ben Johnson did call a really good game. And I think that's why the game was very clean, very safe. A lot of people don't want to hear that word safe when it comes to quarterback play, but I thought Goff played a really safe game. He did. He had a great completion percentage. Didn't throw for a ton of touchdowns. Almost had 300 yards. No turnovers. It was a good game plan against a team that hunts. So I was really impressed with that. And a lot of their playmakers on Minnesota didn't really make a ton of plays. Like Hunter didn't make a ton of plays. He played pretty well in the run, though, I thought. He racked up those tackles. Didn't get to the quarterback, though. Obviously, a couple pressures. Their playmakers just weren't really making play. Now, Cameron Bynum, he had those 2 forced fumbles, and I think he's one of the best safeties, one of the best up and coming safeties in the NFL. Who was a corner in college, and then now he's playing safety at a very high level, and he's a good player. And it was one guy that I was kind of highlighted talking about my preview that I was a little bit worried about. But I thought the Lions offense handled their defense pretty well. You dropped 30 on them. You dropped 30 points on a team that was playing pretty well up until that Bengals game. Bengals kind of put some points on them. Ended up beating them as well. Up until then, they were, Brian Flores' defense, man, they were balling. They weren't letting nobody score. They weren't letting big yards, big chunks, but they weren't letting it happen. And I think that Lions offense played it very well. Now the Lions defense, man, you came up huge. You had all kinds of turnovers. You had 3 picks, 4 picks actually, 4 interceptions. You had some forced fumbles going on there, some fumble recoveries, I think, or you had 2 forced fumbles at least. I don't know if they even had any fumble recoveries, but they were making plays on the football. Melifonwu, I'm not calling this kid a superstar. It's not even close. This kid has been hurt for a majority, it seems like, his Lions career. He has turned into, for 2 weeks, he has turned into a stud. Does it continue? I don't really know, but as of right now, it's a guy you can't take off the field. And Kirby played well too, man. 2 picks for Kirby. He's starting to really turn it on at the end of the year. Really like the way they're playing. They're still not getting to the quarterback from a defensive line point of view. But other than that, man, the blitz is working. They figured out what to do with Melifonwu and Branch. Branch is playing well. I guess their corner, one of their corners, Branch, he did have a pick. So, but their safeties balled out, man. And they played the run fantastic. I don't think they were going to run on Detroit anyways. Ty Chandler didn't think he was going to do much against them in the run. Did get in the end zone on a short plunge, but other than that, they did nothing on the ground. 0 on the ground. And we barely escaped this game because Mullins did throw for a ton of yards. He threw for a ton of yards. He kept them in the game. But he gave up a lot, man, with his arm. He threw 4 picks. It was just one of those games, man, where they just could not pull it through, the Minnesota Vikings. And the Lions came through and made a clutch pick at the end of that football game. And you can't complain. It's going to be interesting to see who we play come out in the playoffs. Right now it's Seattle again, because we got the 2 seed. We're up to from 3 to 2. We took over for Dallas. Still got to watch what Philly does. So where are we going to end up? It's all up to Detroit, man. We got a huge game coming up against the Dallas Cowboys on this Saturday coming up, 8:15, December 30th. That's the next big game. So impressed with the win, guys. You went into an NFC team, an NFC North rival team, and you won. Exactly what you were supposed to do. You beat an inferior team. So I'm really proud, man. Excited, still buzzing from winning the North. Been 30 damn years, man. Way too long, guys. Way too long. But it feels great. It feels absolutely fantastic to be NFC North champions. And there's more work to do, guys. A lot more work to do. So thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for the video. Thanks for coming in and watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button at the bottom right. Don't forget to hit the notification bell up top. Don't forget to hit the like, comment, share button. 30-24 Detroit Football Lions, NFC North champions. First time in 30 years. Live it up, guys. Run your mouths. Tell everybody. Woo! Thanks, guys. One pride, Detroit versus everybody. Let's go. Bam.